Oh shit, hang on, Jimmy.
We live?
No.
Yes?
No.
We hear you, we hear you.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
I
wait,
can't.
wait.
They can. So, could you tell everybody here to put headphones on? We're just turning up from the audience with headphones on.
Can you put on your headphones? Can you put on your headphones? No. Can you hear me? Good. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Good. Is Shehnaz already online? Is she online? All good? Yeah, great. So she's also able to hear me, right? So I just want to, like, this is like really weird because I'm just speaking and people can't, there's no. It's all good to go? No. Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, that's good.
Yes, I'm here and I'm good to go. So thank you and good morning from Cape Town. My name is Shanaz and I'm a director of South.
Sorry, I want you to put on your headphones now. We're going to get started. Shazel?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yes, no, I'll give it the floor, but I will start. Yeah. Everyone, we will get started with this event today. I'm Raju Pandit Chatri. I'm from Nepal, and I will be moderating this session this morning. Of course, I guess you all need to have your headphones on so that you can hear me. So also letting you know that you have to have these headphones to listen to me, to this voice. Yeah, that's important, just as a housekeeping event. Welcome everyone to this event. The title, Financial Innovations in the National Systems, Scaling Ambition and Capacities for Locally Led Adaptation, Research and Action. Well, this is what today we're going to focus discussing around locally led adaptation. We have 3 programs jointly hosting this event: Community Resilience Partnership Program, LLA Initiative for Effective Adaptation and Resilience, Adaptation Research Alliance. These programs are trying to scale up locally led adaptation actions and also ownership in national processes. So this is quite an important topic for us to discuss. We will have several speakers, but first Shehnaz will make a very brief presentation as an opening presentation, but then later on the panel will follow. We also have Pierre, who will be joining us virtually, and she is in fact a very innovative person who will be drawing based on what our panels and speakers will be telling us, and also showing us what she has drawn towards the end of this event. With that, let me now not waste a lot of time, but then invite Shehnaz Musa, the director of the South-South-North, to give us a very short presentation. Shehnaz, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. So yes, good morning from Cape Town, and as mentioned, I'm Shanaz, one of the directors at South-South-North. We are a South African not-for-profit, and our mission is to accelerate transformative climate resilient development in the global South. And we believe that by unlocking transformative climate change, we require dramatic shifts across social, economic, and ecological systems, and at the same time tackling the root cause of the major global and deeply interconnected crises that face us daily. And these are climate change, inequality, biodiversity loss, and ecological degradation. It is my pleasure to be participating, although it's virtually, in this Resilience Hub session on financial innovations in national systems, scaling ambition and capacities for locally led adaptation research and action. As the matter of finance is clearly one of the keys to unlocking transformative change, as well as being a cornerstone of climate action. There's now widespread understanding that adaptation responses are more inclusive, equitable, sustainable, and effective when research and action are both led by local actors and when they define their own adaptation as well as resilience building priorities. Delivery mechanisms and approaches that meaningfully empower these local level actors to lead and make decisions need to be scaled up rapidly to achieve the level of impact that is urgently needed. Doing this requires action from across the full spectrum of actors. This means strengthening governance processes or using approaches that engage a whole of society and working through different levels to support decision-making by the local actors. This could look like supporting non-government actors and initiatives that target and support local actors, for example, like small grant initiatives. And these small grant initiatives, when designed thoughtfully, can offer vital opportunities for local organizations to gain experience and enhance grant management capacities while also delivering deep adaptation knowledge and action in real time. Some examples of these that we as South-South North know quite well are the Adaptation Research Alliance Grassroots Action Research Micro Grants. And in fact, one of these recipients has just won the Earthshot Prize. Then we've got the Voices for Just Climate Action, the Next Level Grant Facility, and as well as the BASE Initiative. These are all intended to meet local needs and recognize that the best way to achieve impact is to ensure that the needs and priorities are driven and decided at the grassroots or the ground level. These initiatives also assist on partnerships between researchers and producers of knowledge and practitioners. And this seems to be what makes them quite different to other small grants. The slide that you see now, and I'm hoping you do see it. No, you're still seeing me, but so on the slide, when you do see it, there's three initiatives that I just want to tell you about quickly. Okay, so you can see the slide now. So the first initiative is developing risk awareness through joint action. This one seeks to improve access to and understanding of weather and climate information for billion underserved people in your urban informal settlements. The initiative, which starts with community-driven research, aims to connect national weather forecasters with the communities and their needs. And that need. So what they end up having is the forecast that they need. And then the other is Fundatio Comunidad from Panama, and they brought together key actors from civil society and government institutions that live within the Santa Maria watershed. And this led to a comprehensive understanding on the state of watershed and climate change scenarios. And so the Resilience Action Plan for the Santa Maria watershed was an outcome of this. The process brought together local, indigenous, and women's knowledge on these various issues, including native species for adaptation, and this was in the mountain ecosystem in the watershed. And then the final one on the slide is one of the ARA micro grantees, and it is a participatory research in Asia and particularly in India. And they worked on planning water security in low-income urban neighborhoods through a co-creation process. This initiative very clearly exemplifies ARA member commitment to community-driven, action-orientated research, especially in the vulnerable urban settings where access to resources is limited. And this approach was deeply rooted in participatory methods, which enabled community members to actively contribute to identify their challenges and at the same time co-develop sustainable water security solutions. These three examples are clear evidence that co-creation approaches yield more robust, transdisciplinary, and locally led adaptation initiatives than conventional top-down approaches. And yet today, not enough adaptation projects have taken a Southern-led co-creative approach, especially in the adaptation research space, which still tends to be strongly dominated by Northern research. Being intentional about bringing this kind of change, along with the corresponding capacities, is clearly the responsibility of the funders and the research community. The same can be said about funding and delivery mechanisms, which are still led and strongly influenced by Northern institutions. So these local approaches and initiatives are providing experience and evidence on how to go about supporting local actors through locally led action. In this session, we are bringing together a number of initiatives that are supporting local actors and are seeking to deeply strengthen the evidence base created by these local actors and to inform policy and practice. We will hear about the experiences of what is working and what the key challenges are, or in short, what is not working. But actually, how can we ensure that funding to support actually reaches the local actors and the ground level? There are several providers of finance that could easily allocate climate finance to support local community actors. And these include your multilateral development banks, your climate funds, bilateral cooperative assistance, national public budget allocations, and increasingly national climate funds, your central bank financing, and your international and national, your private sector investments. There are also small-scale collectives and groups, such as your women's saving groups, your urban poor funds, your rural development funds, and then also your rotating credit associations. And these are already in place. So in practice, very few providers are doing this, and fewer are actually still doing it well. And less so are truly listening to what Southern governments and organizations are calling and asking for, and just perpetuating business as usual. And at the same time, this funding gap is widening and climate action is happening on the ground in the absence of the funds that's really needed to do it at scale and to do it rapidly. So these funds can be channeled in a number of ways directly from the provider straight to the recipient. But at larger scales of funding, also, this can be done through channels including national programs or projects or even platforms, and then having pooling mechanisms such as your national funds through international and local NGOs, and then as well as community-run funds and organizations such as the BRAC Fund or the Waru Commission's Community Resilience Funds. These channels represent opportunities and challenges for access by local community actors in a range of different ways. And they play a really important part in the financing landscape, as well as providing shifts in the financial architecture that's currently at play. So I'm glad to say that today we have the honor of hearing from representatives of the CRPP program as well as the Life AR program. For the CRPP, we have representatives from Fiji's Climate Relocation of Communities Trust Fund and the Philippines People Survival Fund, and they will discuss how they are adapting their process to reach and support local actors. We will also hear from Life AR, and in particular, we will hear both from Ethiopia and the Gambia on the approaches that their governments are taking to invest in the adaptation priorities of communities and to support greater access to finance. So a big thank you, and I hope you all looking forward to hearing the stories and to actively engaging in the session. Thank you, and back to you, Raju.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shehnaz, for breaking with the very helpful presentation. Now I will move to the panel. So let me invite the panelists for this event now. Let me invite Joan, Mariana, Lemba, Madhu. Please, can you come and sit and take the floor with me here? Up here. Thank you very much for joining in the dais. I will start with John. So you have 5 minutes, and John Narag is the director of International Finance Group, Department of Finance with the government of the Philippines. John, the Philippines has this People Survival Fund. We really wanted to know your experience about how the fund was designed for the local people to really access these resources, but at the same time, what has been the inclusivity of the local actors in this fund? What kind of challenges do you see, or what are the opportunities that has been there, the learning that has been with the fund? Can you briefly share with us?
Good morning. We're pleased to be here in government. Uh, the People's Survival Fund is what we call a national dedicated adaptation. Sorry.
It's working now.
It's working. Okay, thank you. It's our national adaptation financing mechanism. The regular appropriations would cover roughly around 17 to 20 million dollars. In our Philippine denomination currency, that's around 1 billion pesos. So it was created to address, of course, national adaptation financing requirements, and those requirements would fit in to address. Sorry, could I? Yeah, thank you. It's better. to address, of course, the requirements of one, our local government units, those are subnational governments, and two, it could also benefit local community organizations. So broadly speaking, it covers any adaptation actions, and knowing that, of course, adaptations are locally led, and truly the players that would be truly benefiting this, of course, our local actors in the introduction. So partly the challenges was, of course, one of the challenges would be, how the fund was created. But we were building on the value-added proposition of the fund, which is this is composed of a multi-sectoral board representation, meaning that would cover majority, of course, would be the government sectors as required by law, but it also includes other sectoral representatives, one from the business sector, another from the non-government sector, and third would be the scientific and academic community. So that would balance, at least provides a variety of views and contribute on how to make sure that one, there would be evidence-based approaches, and two, the perspectives of the private sector and the civil society would also put into play. Now, those are part of the challenges that we have to address. Another is, of course, how the access will be made and how the requirements will be met by those subnational governments and local community organizations. So in some proposals, the local community organizations would partner with our subnational government. So in a way, no, it's not an easy financing mechanism. One, because it's also tied with our national budget. So if you're not able to provide the performance, if you're not able to deliver, then of course, it would not be a regular appropriation in the first place. So we have to make sure these that the benefits would clearly be coursed through the sectors. But again, realizing that not all may have that ready proposals. So the board addressed those by establishing what we call a project development facility. So now that would provide at least roughly 2 million pesos per proponent to make sure that if they're not able to meet the requirements, then these requirements would be better off, build on more substantial approaches, more scientific base, and perhaps provide perhaps a detailed study that would support and argue their case. So those are among the challenges, and I would stop there. Yeah, this point. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for briefly telling us about your funds initiative and also the challenges that you just mentioned. Now let me turn to Mariana. First, she's from the with the Environment and Climate Change Agreement and Strategic Partnership Senior Expert with the Ministry of Planning and Development with Government of Ethiopia. We just wanted also to know about your experience in how has the Ethiopian government really worked in increasing the funding flowing to the local actors, and how are you enabling them for greater ownership with their participation and engagement? Can you please tell us briefly?
I know why. I'm going to turn it on. I know that one.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. In Ethiopian case, we have made possible to have this Life Year initiative possible using the centralized governance mechanism, which allows finance also to devolve to local level. In Life Year case, we managed to reduce the process of going each steps. So we are working towards devolving finance directly to local government. At the establishment phase, what we have done is using the interim fund manager. It was GGGI, Global Growth Institute. And now we are working towards using the government system, which has a history of accessing global finance and channeling it to the climate action. In the process of making sure that how local governments access and say in or governance is ensured in the system, what we launched this initiative with is we started with setting up national and local level task forces, including setting up community representative committee to have a say in the planning, in the governance, in the monitoring and evaluation of the initiative activities. So their local knowledge also is ensured, captured in the process of implementing this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that brief, again, and remarks related to your experience. Now let me turn to Lemba. Lemba Gonavinka, sorry if I didn't pronounce that very well. Adaptation specialist with the government of Fiji. Lemba, now we know that the Fiji also has this, what they call it, Fiji's Climate Relocation Trust Fund. You know, this is something that you have been established for that there is more ownership with the local actors, especially in aligning with the with different local groups, and they can access that resources to really help them. So what are your key lessons learned from this trust fund in Fiji?
Thank you, moderator, and thanks for the opportunity to share briefly on this Climate Relocation of Communities Trust Fund that the Fijian government has established. It has been described as the world's first national trust fund that's tied to a government-legislated, community-driven process to support planned relocation of communities needing a retreat from the impacts of climate change. And it's designed as a fund to receive both domestic and international support. So it is seed funded by the government by a certain percentage of revenue that Fiji earns from its from its environment and climate adaptation levy. Even though we don't have the levy that levy anymore, we're still receiving certain taxes that's seed funding this fund. So yeah, basically it's seed funded by government and it's topped up by bilateral partners. And I guess the key point here is that we have the legal mandates to the Climate Change Act, and we have the policy guidance through the guidelines and the standard operating procedure that outlines the governance arrangements. And any disbursement of the fund is actually is requisite is tied to requirements of meeting the SOP on planned relocation. So the SOP embeds like 4 key principles, ensuring a human-centered, community-driven process. There are 6 consent processes involved, and we have to ensure that we meet all these requirements, ensuring free, prior, informed consent and all these things are met before any disbursement of the funds. And then there's a financial management policy guideline that's tied to that outlines how the institutional arrangements, financial audit processes are done. So we have positioned ourselves to be able to transparently report on all the funds that's coming into the trust fund. And I guess the key point there is that it's government-led, but it's informed by all actors. It's taking a society, a whole of society approach in implementation, and it's ensuring that we have a locally a contextualized and locally driven, locally established mechanism that can be supported. Thank you. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much, Lemba, for also very briefly telling us your experience in Fiji. Now let me also turn to Mado Cham. Mado Cham is the Life Year focal point and the principal climate change officer. Is with the government of the Gambia. So Mado, can you please tell us the experience in Gambia again? How has your initiative really helped strengthen the systems in increasing fund flowing to the local actors and enabling the ownership in your country?
Thank you very much, moderator, and also all the partners, the audience, and my fellow panelists. We are very grateful as a country, and I personally, to be given the opportunity to give Gambia's experience as how the question was asked. So the issue is the Gambia, Life AR embraces this whole society approach. In the Gambia now, Life AR is becoming a household name due to the initiative of this whole society approach. So the process is undergoing a very diligent process to make sure that when it comes to local adaptation and flow of fund, what we actually mean is done. That is what we first do is to initiate financial mechanism survey and study to understand those institutions, both the CSOs, NGOs that are providing adaptation fund to the local level and how effective and efficient they are. After that study was done, we were able to identify an organization that we call the Social Development Fund that serves as the finance mechanism for Life AR. But then it is not only ends at that level. As I said, our objective is to put in place a structure that will be very sustainable when it comes to the delivery of climate finance and to the local people. So a situational analysis was equally done to understand the various institutions that are also involving in climate finance, that are assisting the local level. All these things together were able to inform us who is going to be our delivery mechanism to make sure that when it comes to the delivery of fund, it really reaches the local people as we advocate it to be 70 or more. So that as far as the establishment phase is concerned, where the Gambia is recently in, the way fund flow is a request. That is, we have a plan that is supported by the partners, that is IIED. A plan is developed. So on that plan, any activity that needs to be done, the Life AR coordinator make a request. And this request will come to me in my office. I will look at that plan, I will look at that request against the plan that is developed, whether the plan is within the context, whether the request is within the context of the plan, and also the fund that is requested, whether it's within the budget range. Before approval is given, is conveyed to SDF to disburse the fund. So the second one, which is the how do we make sure that fund reaches the local level? Currently, we are planning as to how this thing is going to be done, but we've got the preconceived one now. That is fund that comes from the donor. That is either Life AR or any other donor, because we want to make this thing sustainable, not to only make it Life AR. The donor could be anybody. So that fund that comes from the donor goes to the Social Development Fund. That is the Social Development Fund is an organization, it's an institution. So this Social Development Fund, when they have the fund, the Village Development Committee that is at the local level will request funding, but not directly to the Social Development Fund, but to the core team, that is the ministry that is responsible for coordinating Life AR in the country. When the Village Development Committee requests this fund, we will still look at the fund and the request, whether it is in line with the plan that is developed. Because we assume before the Village Development Committee at the community level request fund, there is already an investment plan that is done by the delivery mechanism. The delivery mechanism is responsible for investment planning at the local level and budgeting. So to make sure that the local people take lead as far as funding and climate change issues is concerned, they are responsible for making requests making requests, but maybe supported by or maybe given a technical support by the delivery mechanism. So when the Village Development Committee make a request, it make a request to to the Ministry of Environment, which is the core team that I am heading. We will look at, the request that is made, whether it is in line with the plan that is developed, and the request budget, whether it is in line with the community package. Then approval will be sent to the Social Development Fund for the release of fund. So we are saying that when it comes to flow of finance, we have planning is done at the level of the village. That is supported by the delivery mechanism. The delivery mechanism is already a structured government structure that is having its personnel at every level of the village. They have a close interface with the village. They support the village development committee in developing plans relating to development, of course including adaptation. So this delivery mechanism, which supports the VDC in terms of investment planning and budgeting. The plan and budget are submitted to MEGNA, as I said, where MEGNA, which is the Ministry of Environment, that will look at this thing to make sure that it is in line with the principles and offers of Life AR. So in short, I would have loved to also look at the reporting mechanism as far as this flow of finance is concerned. But I want to say that the Gambia at the moment have established a decentralized structure that enhances the flow of funds as far as local adaptation funds are concerned. And that is the Village Development Committee that operates through the subnational government. So this village development committee are supported by a multidisciplinary facilitation team that supports the village development committee in terms of investment, planning, and also implementation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madhav. Thank you very much for sharing your experience how the Life Here works in the Gambia. Now, with that, just on the time check, we have about 15 more minutes, and I'm also happy to open the floor if the audience have any particular questions to any particular panelist here, because now you have seen what they work on, what did they experience. If you want a little deep dive with a question, that very pointed question, then I will give the floor. But I also wanted to just check that, Pierre, I hope you're hearing us very well, and you're also being able to show us something towards the end. But I will come back to you later. But just now I will turn to the audience if you have any question to ask to our colleagues, to the panelists here.
Yes, hello, good morning. Can you hear me? Thank you. So that was a very good discussion, and I'm Savio. I'm representing International Center for Climate Change and Development, ICAD. So I have a particular question for the Philippine panelist. It's very good to hear about the People Survival Fund at the Philippines. So can you please just elaborate how you were selecting the vulnerable communities, as you have mentioned that you were working with the local people and you were helping them with this sort of grant and financing. So it would be good to hear from you how you were selecting this community. Is it through an approach with the local government, or is it something that your organization or how the government is functioning with the local entities? So that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We will also take a couple of more if other people have any questions that you want to ask. Hazel at the back.
You have a question.
Hi, thank you. My question is for Lebna with the Fiji Climate Relocation Trust Fund. And I was just wondering if you could tell us a bit more about how your fund is supporting the local communities and different community groups. I know there's a lot of, there are indigenous groups in Fiji, and there are different processes for local actors. So just interested to hear a bit more about that. Thank you.
One more? Here.
Thank you. My name is Muhammad Abdullah from Somalia. As we know, the African continent, we need to adaptation finance to implementing locally led initiatives to our country or our context. And my colleagues in Africa from Ethiopia and also the guy from, as we know, how can we scaling up our initiatives and mainstreaming in the community level to connect national adaptation plans that to develop our countries and also the locally led initiatives. How can we connect the locally led actions and also the national adaptation plans? Thank you.
Thank you very much for those questions. Now I will turn to the panelists, and this will be the final round, and also you can answer the questions, but at the same time also wrap up your final words. But before that, I also have a question to all the panelists, and that basically is, I mean, the different countries have different experiences, but what is the value add that you see in terms of bringing the local communities, the ownership, and making the plans more inclusive? What value add do you see in terms of delivering to the communities on the ground? So that's one of the questions for all the panelists. So John, I will go from you and go this way, all the way.
Okay, well, thank you. On the proposals, the board issues a regular call for proposals. So that's how the targeted beneficiaries are able to submit. They're guided by a number of templates that's also publicly made available. So they're free to, and from time to time, in partnership with other stakeholders, particularly our National Climate Authority, even our planning authorities, we try also to market how the PSF can be made accessible because, and from time to time, we continue to streamline the requirements. So from the time that it was conceptualized to the time now that the Department of Finance is the lead and is the oversight of the fund, we're able to reduce and bring down a number of requirements now. For one, because some of these requirements are already available through their planning authorities, so we need not duplicate those. So those are among the challenges that we also try to address. Another one is we do a holistic evaluation, meaning we partner also with a National Development Bank as part of the fund approach, management approach. And that National Development Bank, called Development Bank of the Philippines, we build on their experiences on how to do the due diligence and do the complete staff work. Meaning while they're a bank, but of course their expertise in managing the funds also put into the value of how they can access, because they have a network that would cover a number of nations, of islands. As you may know, the Philippines is an archipelagic nation, and we're composed of more than 7,600 islands. So basically, we're partnering with the National Development Bank. It's also government bank owned, where we make sure that they also market the requirements and make sure those. And in selecting these projects, we also make sure that they're able to comply and meet the requirements, meaning we put in the criteria, for instance, poverty incidence. So those are among the requirements that, for this fund to be accessed, which communities are most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, for instance. And the presence of multiple hazards is also a consideration on how these projects are being selected. And another is, of course, since the Philippines is a mega biodiverse area, the presence of KBAs, or the key biodiversity areas, is also embedded in the law, meaning because these are also threatened and to the impacts and hazard of climate change. So I will end there.
Thank you. Now, Madhu, you will have the 1 minute as well.
Okay. I will start, with your question. How do we enhance ownership? As far as the country is concerned, which is the Gambia, we embraces the participatory approach when it comes to planning. It means, planning is led, investment planning and budgeting is led by the community based on the established structure. This is why I said that, we already have a decentralized structure. And this decentralized structure begins at the grassroots, which is the Village Development Committee, that is responsible for planning at the local level. So with Life AR, there is this multidisciplinary facilitation committee that will work with, the VDC, but then planning is led. We call it community action planning, plan development, which is led by the Village Development Committee or the community. That is to enhance, ownership. And you could see, as far as the flow of finance is concerned, is the VDC, because business unusual. Now the community is given the opportunity to request funds directly, not through intermediary, but the intermediary is only there to provide technical support. So the other questions, which says how can we connect the local actions? the planning cycle that we are anticipating for. This VDC generates their plan and investment at the local level. This is taken to the subnational level, which is the councils, as far as the country is concerned. These plans now are connected with national plans to make sure that local plans, local plans are streamlined into the subnational level as well as the national level, in order to enhance that connection. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes. Lema, I will turn to you.
Thank you. So Fiji's process is very detailed and interlinked, but I'll try to summarize it as best
Very
as
briefly,
possible.
yes.
Very briefly, yes. So there's okay, wait. So the villages and settlements have to request the government for relocation. That's the first trigger. So 90% of the living residents need to trigger the request. And the reason for that is that because there are people that would belong to certain villages and they live elsewhere. So we need the sitting residents to request. There's 6 consent processes involved altogether. And then there's a lot of actors that are involved in this space in Fiji, providing support across various types of things. So government needs to show leadership and manage the process. So we have a Fiji relocation and planned relocation and displacement task force that governs this. It's a government body that approves any request for community relocation. So once the trigger is given, then we have the consent to go in and do all the respective assessments. We reconfirm that relocation is the measure of last resort. We've exhausted all other feasible adaptation options. We reconfirm, that's the second consent, and then the other respective consents come forth. So the other consents are like 60%, so that's more manageable. But we have the task force, and then we have a technical advisory arm to the task force that consists of other agencies as well. So we have UNICEF that provides child protection and safety advisory support. We have like other NGOs that provide cultural sensitivity, gender, psychosocial support, etc. So it's a whole of society approach, which is what I mentioned. So everybody interlinking and then providing that final support to the government-led body that then approves all this and ensures that all the free, prior, informed consent, we have evidence of that's coming up all through the respective channels before we endorse any decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me turn to Mariana.
Thank you for the floor. To answer your questions precisely, what values does inclusiveness add to this engagement? I believe most of the time is the sense of belongingness or ownership. Inclusiveness adds like the local communities to be responsible, feel for the climate vulnerabilities, they have all the solutions. What they didn't have is a resource to address it. So in such terms, inclusiveness make them at the center of the action, and they are the drivers of the action. In terms of answering what's the link between the national and the initiatives, in Ethiopian case, what we have done is developing the national. Normally, there's development plans. We start with screening the development plan, both at the national and local level, ensuring that the development plans have both adaptive and mitigation interventions in their action. Second, to ensure initiatives make impact on the national response for adaptation, we have a national CRG forum, which brings different stakeholders, government, international NGOs, private sector, CSOs, any organization, any individual that works on climate towards one goal, that is building resilience and adaptation capacity for the nation. So each have their own role in bringing strong action.
Okay. Thank you, Mariana, for that. Now, with that, of course, we come towards the end. But I want now for Pierre to come in. You have 2 minutes, Pierre, and can you please display what Pierre has just come come up with capturing our discussions here? Yes, go ahead,
Yes.
Pierre. Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much for a fruitful critical conversation here. So I will also share my screen. Like during the past hour, check is it. Excuse me, can you see my screen? Not yet. Share. Aha. Okay. So this was like yeah, what I captured. It was a draft version, but thank you very much for critical key points. I will finish it up later on and will submit to the Resilience Hub. But what we begin with the challenges that the local communities, they firstly lack of the access of the finance that have plenty of them, but how we can include more and also create a participatory and decentralized finance. And we want to focus on the local adaptations and to emphasize the research and action at the local levels and scale it up. We have 4 amazing example cases from 4 amazing countries as a community windows to receive like the fundings, like from the Philippines. And we talk about the people survival funds, and partnership is really a key. And we followed with Fiji, as we really need to ensure that it's going to be community driven for the policy guidance is also needed. And for Ethiopia, we can already learn how national and local government system can strengthen the governance together. And in Gambia, really people can take a lead as a whole society. And if we see here, like financial mechanisms is also a key, whether it's through like many kind of the potential budget financing landscape, CRPP, Life AR, but it could provide a direct invest to the local communities and to connect with the local and national adaptation plan is the key. So here is just a summarized version, and I will brush it up later on. And thank you very much for the discussion.
Thank you, Pierre. Thank you very much for that. I was supposed to summarize with key points, but I guess you already have the key points out there. But also, thank you very much. I think I like my photo there, somewhere in the corner down. Anyway, just for the to end this with the very key, I don't want to summarize what our panelists have mentioned, but just to highlight some of the key wordings. I think we heard about the finance being very key, that reaching to the local level. Similarly, the whole of society is a concept that we need to build on because it's more participatory. Inclusivity is a very important element. Similarly, in the participative process, the different actors and stakeholders, including non-government actors and others, is very key thing. Co-creation was also mentioned, but just not that we should not be doing something very top-down, but co-creating and locally led is something very important. But also one of the things that we have learned is everything here, what we've shared, is very national context-based, right? So one doesn't match with the other because they have their own way of doing things. But then at the core is how do you make that more ownership at the local level? How do you increase the fund flowing to the local level, addressing the community needs, and really being, addressing the needs of the people? I think that's what the core was basically mentioned. So that's what I want to end with. And now I really would like to thank my panelists, of course, also the presenter Sehanaz, John, Mariana, Lemba, Madhu, and also Pierre for their excellent drawing. Thank you very much. Maybe you give a round of applause to all the panelists here. Thank you very much. And now I like Cecil to just in 1 minute end this. I think she's got some announcements.
Thank you, Raju. I'll be very brief. I just wanted to say thank you to Raju and the panel for this great discussion. Oh, and just to say, I'm with IIED and with the CRPP initiative, so just also on behalf of the co-hosts, thank you to CRPP, LifeAR, and ARA, and to the Resilience Hub. And I was just leaving you with a few resources that we have, if we can bring up the slides. But we have recently done a study under CRPP where we've been speaking with our presenters, John and Leba, and the Fiji and Philippines Fund and a few other funds. And we have a technical note coming out on some of the findings of looking across national climate change funds. Then we have the LifeAR initiative, which has recently a new website that's just been put out. And then we also have the Adaptation Research Alliance website to find out more from them. And yeah, really look forward to continuing this discussion, because I think we've just scratched the surface, and I think there's really interesting things coming out about how to scale up these kind of initiatives. So thank you everyone for joining. Thanks.